I thought the worst thing my husband could ever give me was divorce papers. I was wrong. He gave me a life sentence wrapped in a lie. The room was too cold. That's the first thing I remember. The kind of cold that seeps through your clothes and settles into your marrow. Dr. Evans had been my physician for 10 years. He delivered my daughter. He treated my flu last winter. But today, he couldn't look me in the eye. He was shuffling papers, clicking his pen, staring at a spot on the wall just above my left shoulder. "Sarah?" he started, his voice sounding like it was coming from underwater. "We ran the standard blood panel again, just to be sure. Sometimes there are false positives, so we wanted to be absolutely certain before we called you in." I laughed nervously. "You're scaring me, doctor. Is it my iron levels again? I've been taking the supplements." He finally looked at me. The pity in his eyes was heavier than a physical blow. "It's not your iron, Sarah. The test came back positive for HIV." The world stopped. Literally stopped. The hum of the air conditioner vanished. The traffic outside ceased. All I could hear was the rushing of blood in my ears, loud as a freight train. "That's impossible," I whispered. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded like a child's. "I'm married. I've been married for 12 years. Marcus, we are monogamous." Dr. Evans slid a box of tissues across the desk. "Sarah, the virus is in your system. We need to check your viral load and CD4 count immediately, but right now we need to discuss your partner." Mark. My Mark. The man who coached Little League. The man who held my hand during turbulence on airplanes. The man who swore to love me in sickness and in health. I walked out of that clinic into the blinding afternoon sun. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I didn't cry. Not yet. My brain was trying to solve a math problem that didn't have a solution. If I haven't been with anyone else, and I have HIV, then Mark? Flashbacks hit me like a montage in a horror movie. Mark's late nights at the office over the last 2 years, the sudden password change on his phone because of security updates, the way he stopped touching me months ago, claiming stress, only to initiate intimacy aggressively 3 weeks ago after a company trip. He knew. Or maybe he didn't know he was sick, but he knew what he was doing. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror. I looked the same as I did this morning, but I was a ghost. I was a walking casualty of a war I didn't even know I was fighting. I started the engine. I wasn't going home to cry. I was going home to find the truth.
Driving home, the denial tried to creep back in. Maybe it was a mistake, maybe from a blood transfusion, but I'd never had one. A needle? I don't do drugs. The logic always circled back to the one variable I couldn't control: Mark. When I got to the house, it was empty. Mark was at work. Our daughter, Lily, was at soccer practice. I had 2 hours. I went straight to his home office. Usually, I respected his privacy. I thought privacy was a component of trust. Now I realized privacy was just the garden where his secrets grow. I opened his laptop. Password protected. Of course. I tried his birthday. Incorrect. Our anniversary? Incorrect. Lily's birthday? Incorrect. I sat back, closing my eyes, trying to think like him. Mark was arrogant. He thought he was smarter than everyone. What would he use? I typed in the date of his big promotion last year. Access granted. My heart hammered against my ribs. I went straight to the cloud backups. He had synced his text messages. I scrolled past the messages to me: "Love you, babe. Running late. Pick up milk." It was sickeningly normal. Then I saw a thread with a contact listed simply as M. It started 6 months ago. M. Are you free tonight? He's out of town. Mark. I can make an excuse. The wife thinks I'm on a deadline. I scrolled down, my hands trembling so hard I could barely control the trackpad. It wasn't just M. There was Jessica, Jim, There was escort service VIP. He wasn't just having an affair. He was living a double life. He was soliciting sex from random strangers unprotected and then coming home to sleep in my bed. I found the credit card statements hidden in a digital folder labeled Tax Docs 2021. Hotel charges, local motels, cash withdrawals at 2 a.m. But then I found something that made me run to the bathroom and vomit. An email from a clinic, dated 3 months ago. Subject, test results. He knew. He had tested positive 3 months ago. He knew he was carrying the virus. And 3 weeks ago, when he initiated sex with me, he did it knowing he was a loaded gun. He didn't tell me. He didn't protect me. He exposed me to a life-altering disease because he was too cowardly to admit his infidelity. I wiped my mouth and looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. The shock was gone. The sadness was gone, replaced by a cold, hard rage. He had murdered the woman I was. He took away my health, my safety, and my trust. I heard the garage door open. He was home. I didn't run. I didn't hide the laptop. I walked into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and waited. He walked in, smiling, loosening his tie. "Hey, honey, something smells good. Did you start dinner?" he asked, leaning in to kiss my cheek. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. "We need to talk, Mark. Sit down."
He knew instantly. The moment he saw my face, the smile dropped. The good husband mask slipped, revealing the stranger underneath. "What's wrong? Is it Lily?" he asked, feigning concern. "Lily is fine," I said, my voice deadly calm. "I saw Dr. Evans today." Mark froze. He went specifically still, like an animal sensing a predator. He walked to the fridge, turning his back to me. "Oh, everything okay? Just a checkup, right?" "I have HIV, Mark." The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush the house. He didn't turn around. He just stood there, gripping the handle of the refrigerator. That's ridiculous," he stammered, finally turning around. His face was pale, but his eyes were darting around, looking for an exit, looking for a lie. "You must have, maybe the dentist or a manicure? You know those places aren't sanitary." I slammed his laptop onto the kitchen island. The screen was still open to the email from the clinic, his positive test results from 3 months ago. "Don't you dare," I hissed, stepping closer. "Don't you dare try to gaslight me one last time. You knew 3 months ago, and you still slept with me. You still put me at risk." He looked at the laptop, then at me. His posture changed. The fear evaporated, replaced by a defensive, ugly sneer. "You were distant, Sarah. You were always tired. You stopped being a wife," he shouted, throwing his hands up. "I have needs. I made a mistake, okay? But don't act like you were perfect." "A mistake?" I screamed, the tears finally breaking through. "You forgetting to take out the trash is a mistake. You cheating on me with half the city and giving me an incurable virus is not a mistake. It's assault, Mark. It's battery." "It's manageable," he yelled back, desperate to minimize what he'd done. "People live normal lives with it now. It's just a pill a day. Stop being dramatic." I looked at him with pure disgust. Just a pill a day? You stole my health. You stole my future. You stole my ability to trust another human being, and you did it while smiling in my face and eating the dinner I cooked. I grabbed the stack of papers, the printouts of his texts, the bank statements, the emails. "I want you out now. If you are not out of this house in 10 minutes, I am calling the police and I am showing them these emails where you knowingly exposed me. In this state, that is a felony, Mark. Do you want to leave in your car or in a squad car?" He stared at me, realizing I wasn't bluffing. The power dynamic shifted violently. He was no longer the man in charge. He was a criminal, and I was the witness. He packed a bag in silence. As he walked to the door, he stopped. "You'll never prove I did it on purpose," he muttered. "I don't have to prove it to the world, Mark," I said, holding up the phone recording I had started the moment he walked in. "I just have to prove it to the judge." The door slammed. I fell to the floor, my body shaking uncontrollably. The house was quiet again, but this time it wasn't the silence of fear. It was the silence of survival.
The next year was a blur of lawyers, doctors, and therapy. The divorce was brutal. Mark tried to hide assets, tried to claim I was unstable, but the evidence was overwhelming. The recording of him admitting he knew about his status before sleeping with me was the nail in his coffin. He didn't just lose the house, he lost his reputation. The church, the community, his job, they all found out. Not because I shouted it from the rooftops, but because the truth has a way of rotting things from the inside out. But his downfall didn't cure me. I remember the first time I went to the pharmacy to pick up my antiretrovirals. I felt like everyone was staring at me. I felt branded. I felt dirty. It took months of therapy to realize that the virus was a biological fact, not a moral failing. I hadn't done anything wrong. I had loved a man who was incapable of loving me back. My viral load became undetectable within 6 months. U equals U, the doctor told me. Undetectable equals untransmittable. I could live a long, healthy life. I could even date again, eventually, without fear of passing it on. But the emotional scars were deeper than the virus. I had to learn how to look at my daughter and not see her father's betrayal. I had to learn how to sleep in a bed alone without checking the locks 3 times. One evening, sitting on my porch, looking at the sunset, I realized something. I was stronger than I ever thought possible. The old Sarah, the one who was afraid to check her husband's phone, the one who thought her worth was tied to her marriage, she was gone. She died the day Dr. Evans gave me the news. The new Sarah was forged in fire. I started a support group for women who had been infected by unfaithful partners. I realized I wasn't alone. There were thousands of us, women who trusted, who loved, and who paid a steep price for it. I looked at the bottle of pills on the table. They weren't a symbol of my sickness anymore. They were a symbol of my survival. I was still here. I was raising my daughter. I was breathing. Mark is somewhere out there, probably telling a new version of the story where he is the victim. But it doesn't matter. His story is a lie. Mine is the truth. And now I turn to you. If you found out your partner had betrayed you in the worst way possible, leaving you with a permanent reminder of their infidelity, would you seek revenge like I did with the legal system? Or would you try to forgive for the sake of peace? Because I'll tell you this. I got justice, but I'm still working on the peace. What would you do?